spent the day learning about the present of e-commerce, strategies that work now, tools we can use today, and problems we face right now. But what about tomorrow? What about next year? What's coming for WordPress and WooCommerce? To close this incredible day, we have someone who literally shapes the future of selling with WordPress, James Camp, Core Product Manager at WooCommerce. And because he builds in public, and he asks a lot of questions on Twitter or X about everyone's opinion on the future of WooCommerce, we decided to reverse the roles. This is an interview and Sorry, James.
Yeah,
exactly. We were kind. This is an interview and Q&A format, which means you'll also have the chance to ask your burning questions to him. For this, we invited Katie Kitt, the founder and CEO of Barn2 Plugins, who's already spoke today, a company selling WordPress and WooCommerce plugins as well as Shopify apps now. With you, James Camp and Katie Kitt. Let me just reverse.
So, I want to learn more about James's vision for the future of e-commerce based on what we know now, because it's such an interesting time for e-commerce and lots of people are guessing about where things are going and thinking, well, what should we do, given that we don't know for definite? So I want to know what's coming and in particular, what e-commerce store owners and developers should be doing to prepare. So I'll ask a few questions to James and then you can ask your questions afterwards. So let's start with the present. What changes are we seeing in how people buy and sell online right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting time at the moment, as I'm sure everyone's aware. It's very AI focused. You know, AI is an emerging technology, and it's changing very quickly, very rapidly, and it's just generally changing a lot of how people interact with websites. So one of the things that's happening is a lot of people search for products using their AI tool of choice. And, you know, the tool recommends those products back to them. So I think that's, you know, one of the biggest changes is using that as a search mechanism to find products. But also for the merchant, there's, you know, different ways to update products and modify products as well. And just to manage their store more generally.
Yeah, so we're talking about people using AI to find products, so to do their research basically where they might have done Google before. But I also keep hearing the term agentic e-commerce. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, it's again, emerging technology. Agentic commerce is the idea that you can search for products using your AI tool. And then the AI tool will actually allow you to buy the product from there. You know, you don't have to go to the website to enter your information and purchase. And longer term, you could imagine that the AI could also make the purchase for you. And it can become a lot more detached. You know, you're not having to instruct it as much. And for the merchant, again, it's a similar thing. You know, you're naturally talking to this imaginary person who's going out there and updating your store and giving you feedback about how your products are selling and things like that. So it's the agent aspect. I guess you can imagine the AI is acting as an agent on your behalf and performing these things that historically you would have to do.
So is the agentic when you tell the AI to buy something, like it recommends a product and it then has a buy button in the AI? Or is it more dynamic where you've given it a set of rules, like when I'm low on whatever product in my house, my smart device will send the AI instructions to buy? What is the agentic bit?
The agentic bit is the AI itself, like understanding what you want and performing the actions for you. So yeah, both of the things that you said are essentially, you know, the agent acting on your behalf rather than you clicking through.
What use cases do you think that is likely to be helpful for? Because when I personally buy online, I typically like to go on the shop and say if they charge for shipping and they have free shipping after a certain amount, then I'm going to browse what else they've got. I don't want it to just buy one thing because I know that I need that one thing. It's not how I buy things.
Yeah, I guess, that's going to evolve over time. I think you could expect that kind of discounting mechanism would avail itself in some way as well, the free shipping. But also, I think just generally, like I use it now to do that. I don't make the purchase on it, but if I'm looking for a specific product, I will ask AI to recommend a product for me. Like I do photography, so I'm often looking for like the best SD card for my camera. And the AI comes back and says, these are the best ones. And then I have to take that information and go out and find the shop where I want to buy it. And I think that's the kind of thing that it opens up. So instead of me having this information and then I have to take it and buy something, the AI would present based on, how performative and high quality your store is, that data back to me and allow me to purchase right there.
So to what extent is this actually happening now? Are we talking hypotheticals? Are we speculating about the future? Or how much on the horizon is this?
It's happening now. I'm sure everyone's seen the agentic commerce protocol that's come out with Shopify specifically. I think they announced it recently, which is a Stripe implementation of this AI, the ability to purchase through OpenAI at the moment. So yeah, it's happening now. We at WooCommerce released our MCP, built-in model context protocol, at the end of October. So that allows you to connect to your WooCommerce store via your AI of choice, as long as your AI of choice has some sort of MCP integration. And at the moment, you can perform things against products and orders specifically, and that will evolve over time. And it's also extensible, so anyone can add to that. And it's done via the Abilities API. I'm not sure how many people know about that, but it's essentially a way to register a function or a feature of your product, and the AI can read that and understand how to utilize that function. So for products, it might be how to update a product, and specifically like the price of a product, and it knows what parameters it can use. So all of that is available now. You can extend the MCP. It is in beta mode, so you have to go in and turn it on via the advanced features. But you can do that now. You can connect. It is still quite a technical connection, like to actually set it up is reasonably technical. We try to walk through it as much as we can in the documentation. But yeah, you can do that. Obviously, I know I use AI all the time to find products, like I was saying. As a merchant, you can utilize this MCP thing to manage your store as well. Even down to like asking it, what are my top 5 selling products from the last 3 months in Ukraine? You can be very specific about what you're asking, and it will know what to call and like how to analyze that data. And that's kind of that agentic thing again, where it's calling a tool and then it's processing that data and feeding it back to you in an understandable way.
Yeah, I'm not a developer, and I tried to set it up, the MCP, and tried to link it up with Claude specifically in order to make changes to a WooCommerce store. And I got very stuck.
Yeah.
I was not successful. So when it's here now for merchants, I think, they need to get a developer to set it up for them. I see this as an interesting place for product people. Do you have any thoughts about, given that we were more providing the framework for developers to hook WooCommerce up with AI, do you see any kind of scope for people, third parties, to develop products and things?
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, we're building the foundation. Like this is how you can use these tools and extend them. So even like products that exist today, can extend it now. So whatever your product is, it's already extending WooCommerce in some way. And with the MCP integration, you can just add this ability, which is just like a simple array of data, and use it now. But so specifically for your products, you would extend it in that way. But there's also like a ripe market that hasn't fully been explored yet. And I think it will massively change, even over the next 3 months. There's new AI tools that come out every week pretty much. And the space hasn't really been explored. So I think it's like a brand new era. And I think the things that we're going to see in a year, 2 years, we're not even aware of what they could be, because it's just such a rapidly changing ecosystem.
Yeah, it's quite scary in a way, because say we've got a successful e-commerce store, and with this is all going to change. Will people even want to visit our website in the future? Does our website even matter? So if we have an online store, whether it's for a client or our own, what do you think we should be thinking about or doing right now to prepare for these changes?
Yeah, I think the most important thing with AI and having a store, having a product, as it were, is the clarity and the depth of your data. So the AI is just interpreting this data. WooCommerce is providing the platform that will present the data to the AI and to Google and to the user, behind the scenes. But it's important that you, as a website owner, as a store owner, actually populate all of that data and make it really clear. So that's things like the product images, the GTIN codes for products that, are sold across different markets, SKUs, the product description, attributes, like all of that stuff is digestible by the AI. So the more you have of that, and reviews as well, the AIs are going to take into consideration the locale of your store, like how local it is to the person asking the question, and they'll probably recommend stores closer to them. But also, the feedback, if you've got 200 5-star reviews, that's going to be prioritized over someone that doesn't have that information. So really just, the data. And that's going to benefit, not just the AI, but also search results, just generally like Google search results, and anything else that is finding your store.
So adding all that data is something we can do with our e-commerce platform as it already is. So can we just trust AI to be crawling and finding our data, assuming they can read it okay? Or is there anything we can do, like to be, for example, in Google's product feed at the moment, which is not AI, it's not a new thing. I think you actually have to do something, don't you, with WooCommerce that is available. Would it be anything like that, or will they just find it?
I think it's to be determined. At the moment, they will just find you, and it's similar to how you would optimize for SEO. You're preparing your site to be available to Google, and it's the same for AI. I think that AI will probably index this in some way, and then reference that information. Because theoretically it should just work. Like, you don't need to do anything as long as your data is there. All of the presenting it to AI stuff happens behind the scenes, like at the platform level.
Yeah. So let's talk about how all of this affects our actual websites, which we build and maintain. Like my talk earlier was talking about adding features to websites, like displaying variants in different ways and upsells, related products. Is any of that going to even be relevant if everybody's just buying in an AI?
Yes.
Elaborate.
It's very relevant. I think you should look at AI as a channel, a sales channel. Not everyone is going to use AI to browse the internet and to find products, at least for like the next 20 years, I imagine. Maybe your robot assistant will do it for you. I see AI as a channel, the same as, finding your product in Google as a channel. There's, Bing, Yahoo, like all these different places where you can find a product. And not everyone's going to be comfortable buying through AI. So they might find your product through AI, and they might then navigate to the website. As well, you have other channels like, Etsy, different marketplaces where you can sell your product. And I think that's going to be one of the vital things. And again, it's one of the things that your product data is going to help, like having really comprehensive product data to open your products up to these different markets. And I think that's what you should explore, is not just having your website, but putting those products everywhere, across all these different marketplaces. So yeah, I think people are still going to visit your website as another sales channel. And, there's going to be people that are loyal to your brand. There's going to be people that are just looking for trust signals. Like you mentioned, the AI is presenting products all very much in the same way. So people are still going to explore and want to see if they can trust the website that they're buying from. I expect at least for, I think at least 10 more years we'll be doing it that way.
Yeah, which is more than the life cycle of the typical e-commerce site anyway.
Yes,
So,
very true. Yeah.
okay, well, we've talked a lot about how AI affects the future. Let's go over to the audience now and see what people want to ask about the future of selling.
I need to take this.
I need to take the microphone.
I need to take this one for the WordPress.tv recording. So put your hands up, Marcel, of course.
All right, James. So you were asking the audience before if they know MCP. I hope at least half of the people know, because I did a talk this morning about MCP and how WooCommerce integrated this.
In English or Portuguese?
In Portuguese, which I think is more important than to be in English, so they really understand what's going on. Yeah. And so while I was preparing for that talk, I was doing my own MCP server code, and then I found yours and I trashed my code. And then I wanted to do a proxy server for MCP for you to connect, and I saw your code and I trashed mine. So before I go and build another code, I wanted to ask you. I'm still a little bit obsessed about. I've built many WooCommerces for clients in the past. So, and people, they have two questions. They want a fast website to sell their products, but then they want tips about how to better promote their products, how to improve the website in order to sell more products. And most of the questions are not based on technology, are not performance-based, are not, do I need another block? Do I need another feature? They're more about tips in regards to what should I put up in the product that is based on reports, on analytics, and all of that stuff, right? And so before I go and build an AI tool that will kind of like help merchants go into their backend and ask questions about what products should I promote, what sales should I do, and etc. Is that something WooCommerce is thinking about creating as a...
Well, I expect it will be, yes.
All right.
We have an analytics product to, I'm sure many of you have seen, to replace the legacy reports that still exist in WooCommerce, which is actively being expanded. And I think the natural path, to having that is to be more proactive with the analytics that we give in that product. So nothing is coming short term, but I expect as we, evolve with these AI technologies and the different implementations that are available, and as we expand our MCP capabilities, that we could more than likely expect to see something like that from our team.
That's all. That's okay. We have more questions here. Rodolfo.
Uh-oh. No, take it easy. Okay. So one question, I think Katie said it earlier slightly, saying that the new WooCommerce MCP has got capabilities like reading data, but also writing data. So technically, it could delete your whole website. So what sort of security measures or safety nets are we going to have in order to avoid this possibility or hacking or whatever?
Yeah, interesting question. It wouldn't be possible to delete your whole website because it has these very specific capabilities that it can perform. It could potentially delete your products if you asked it to. And honestly, I don't know what the answer is there. I think you'd have to very specifically ask it, please delete all my products, and then it would do it. I don't expect it would go out of hand and just start deleting stuff unexpectedly. I think what I would like to see in the future, and what I expect we'll see, is not people using things like ChatGPT and Claude to manage their stores, but rather like very specific products that are built to do that, with the interface of, the same as ChatGPT, but like with far more context on e-commerce, because if you're using Claude or ChatGPT, it has no understanding of your specific store and that market. Whereas if someone were to build a tool that was very specifically tailored to use these capabilities and understand your store, then I think that is probably the way it will go, rather than these more like personal ChatGPT type tools.
Sorry, I have a request from the AV team to put this on your lanyard.
Oh, okay.
So can hear you there.
Thank you.
More questions? You're missing the opportunity.
There's one at the back, I think. Yeah.
The back? Who? No, he wasn't.
They're deciding.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm not, code oriented in some sense. And so I'm part of the population which understands, I would say, e-commerce is a general thing, but I want to build a website, as you said, which is fast and also easy for me to sell some stuff. And so my question is, what do you think WooCommerce can do, or Woo can do next to make store setup simpler for non-initiated, code-initiated merchants?
I actually think WooCommerce specifically is more tailored to that audience and less tailored to the technical audience.
Yeah.
So that I still think there's definitely improvements we could make for the non-technical audience in setting up their store. But actually, it's already like they have a step-by-step onboarding process. I think what would be nice is the aftercare. So you've set up your store, you've launched it, and then what? You just wait for people to arrive and buy things. So I think there's like a marketing aspect that we could help with, and maybe, something with the ecosystem of Woo stores that we can enable these products to be more visible. I think that aspect of the merchant journey needs some assistance. But I actually think the builder, the developer journey and onboarding is something that we'll be focusing on a lot into next year, and just making it so that builders and developers can spin up a store without having to go through all this merchant focused stuff. Because typically they do this every few weeks. And I would like to see that experience improved as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks.
Any more questions from the audience? We have Jose here.
So my question is a very simple one, but I assume it's not an easy answer, but here it goes. We are facing a storm of releases of WooCommerce. Almost 2 in 2 weeks, we have a new release. And we have also a lot of new things that are some changing the old ones and improving. So there are a lot of new stuff. What can we expect for at least the first half of next year?
Yeah, tricky question to answer. I will say our release cadence is every 5 weeks. But we do have patch releases in between that cadence as well. In what I would like to see and what we're investing in is obviously the AI technologies, integrating the Stripe agentic protocol, I think they call it, which is the ability to shop through AI, but also more of the foundational stuff that you expect in a modern e-commerce platform. So things like, and some of this work we started earlier this year was like back in stock notifications. Product fulfillment is something that is actually available now. We'll more than likely see a payment version of the fulfillment entity as well. So payments can be tracked to orders and potentially allow, multiple payments to an order, which we don't allow at the moment. So very much like the foundations, and some of this stuff may be just available to use as a developer, to be more consistent in how this stuff works. So we don't have 5 different plugins that add payments in a different way. That's very much the goal, is to just build this really solid platform, this base that everyone can use. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything specific, but I think that is as far as I can go.
We have some questions from people online. Do you want to go to them? Yes, we have. We asked the world of Twitter.
I'm sure we're gonna have more questions here, but
Yeah.
let's make that. No, yeah, good.
Do I need this?
Yeah, if you want to put it on.
So Joey Kudish said, what are some use cases of the new MCP system that have been developed so far or that you'd like to see developed in the future?
This kind of touches on your question. And Rodolfo's actually, where I feel like there's space for more contextually aware MCP interactions. So you're not just talking to an unaware thing about how to manage your store, but something that understands your market, and has data from multiple different stores. So you could have, if you sell water bottles, that the AI understands the current market of water bottles and can say, you should increase the price by 10% because that's what the market is showing. So I think, yeah, there's tons of stuff that will become possible. But I think this more like contextually aware concepts will be the ones that start to take off and become really valuable.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be really useful. And Josh Colback said, where do you see the future of the product editing experience going in WooCommerce?
Yeah, obviously we had an exploration of building out the product editor in, using blocks, kind of that data form experience. There were issues with that in that it wasn't massively extensible for third-party developers, and it was put on the back burner. But there's explorations that we're doing again with that, and just really trying to find how we can incorporate that experience, which has a much more modern UI, and is much like visually is a much nicer experience for non-technical merchants, but also to allow it to be extensible, in a reasonably controlled way, so that we're not having this mishmash of UI coming from all different kinds of plugins, but it's more there's like more expected ways to do things, and that touches on the foundational experience that we want WooCommerce to offer.
Yeah, and that's very important because as a company with several plugins that modify that section, it does feel like, should we make changes to it now, or is it going to change in the future and we'll have to redo our work? So it is always a dilemma knowing that might be on the horizon. No,
I had that same experience. Obviously, I had a plugin company before this, which heavily modified like the product editor. And yeah, the one that was brought out before I started at WooCommerce was concerning because I wasn't sure how you could carry on using our products with that experience. So yeah, I would like to see us really lean into allowing extensibility and, but yeah, not allowing it to get out of hand, but have an expectation of how it should be controlled.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I have 3 Twitter questions from Rodolfo. So do you want me to ask? Because I have them written down. So one was, what is Woo's 5-year plan, roadmap / vision?
Yeah, I think I kind of touched on that.
5 years though.
5 years.
Yeah, crystal ball.
Yeah. It's hard to say because of the way things are emerging now. There's obviously things that we discuss within WooCommerce that are concepts that we'd like to explore. But yeah, it's really, the goal is to serve the different types of users that use WooCommerce. So you've got the builders, the agencies that are building for people. You've got the merchants that spin up their own sites and want to kind of do it in a no-code way. You've got the enterprise users that are expecting performance and smooth experiences in terms of how they manage the store and how their customers perceive the store. So just really like focusing in on those experiences and having clear product paths for each of those groups of people is the goal.
Yeah. Another question was, is WooExpress coming back? So for anyone who doesn't know what WooExpress was, it was a hosted version of WooCommerce, a bit like WordPress.com, but it was a standalone product. And that was closed down. And now you just have the commerce plan in WordPress.com if you want that.
Yes. There's no plans to bring it back. The commerce plan in .com actually utilizes a lot of what was built for WooExpress. It's kind of the same offering in theory. But yeah, I don't expect we will see, at least anytime soon, a WooExpress offering.
And is there a plan for deprecating the legacy cart and checkouts?
There is not a plan to deprecate it.
Good.
Yeah. And it's because we're not quite there yet. You can't you can't have the same experience across the two. And the checkout itself is looking to be utilizing the interactivity API, which should enable more of the similar experiences that you can get with the legacy editor, the legacy checkout. So I would really like to see not parity as such, because I think the legacy checkout is fully extensible. You can make it do anything. But kind of touching on what I was saying about having expected ways to do things is what I would like to see before we then start thinking about deprecating the legacy versions.
And I also have a question for you. It's not as much about technology, but more about the process and your role in WooCommerce, and the fact that you are building in public, as we said earlier. Was this something that Woo was already looking for? Is this something that you, when you took this role, decided to do? And how's it going? What's the experience? How do you like the feedback that you get from people? I gotta say, me personally, and most of the developers I know, we were very pleased with that way of building WooCommerce, and I would like to hear from you about this.
Yeah, I would say it's not something they were looking for. I approached them actually and said, I'm thinking of leaving my product company. It was acquired in 2021, and I felt like I'd got to a point where I've grown my company as far as it would go. We were making, small utility type plugins. But yeah, I wanted to do something with more impact, and something that I could get more feedback and, more, just provide a more useful thing for people. And so WooCommerce felt like the natural progression into that. So I was quite lucky that I came from that background of having already built up, rapport with developers, and people knew me for making WooCommerce products. And I was able to bring that into WooCommerce. So I actually approached them and I said, what kind of role would suit me? Because prior to this, I was developer, I was designer, I was marketer, like doing all the things. as I'm sure many of you are aware, and doing yourselves. So yeah, I fell into this product position, which I really enjoy. It suits me really well. I'd already started teetering out the development side of my work, and I feel like I understand the ecosystem as well. You know, I was in WooCommerce since 2011, which is very early in its life cycle. So I've kind of, my career has evolved around it. And then, yeah, just having that audience of people that I can already connect to has been really useful. It's been huge. And there was a post actually before I joined. We use a system called P2, which many of you probably have heard of. It's just WordPress internal wiki type thing. There was a post from Darren, who is now the engineering lead at Automatic, kind of encouraging people to be more open with what we're building. And I kind of took that and went with it.
And thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to have more questions. Any more questions from the audience? No? Oh, Marcel here again. You have more, Rodolfo?
Right, one last question. Let's imagine the microphones are off. We don't have cameras. Nobody is listening but us.
Got it.
What is the one thing that you absolutely hate about WooCommerce?
Wow.
And you
Hold on
would
then.
like,
For me. Yeah. Okay.
and you would like to have it fixed tomorrow.
He's going to get fired.
Yeah, this is a bad question.
I'm just kidding. The question is more about like, what is your biggest like thing you wanted to achieve with WooCommerce, like bad or a good thing? Because I feel like you're describing your role like being that you sit very well in it and that you have a great passion for it. So you must have some sort of like secret dream that you wanted to do with or to get with WooCommerce, and what is it?
Yeah. I'll answer that question. And for me, it's very much like I've come from this developer side into WooCommerce. So for me, my real desire and passion is to make it as good as possible for the people building with it. Which also means, you know, in turn, that if people are going to build with it, they also need it to be good for the merchants that they're building for. But very much like that developer experience and being extensible and flexible, however that looks in the future, is something that I really want to see improved and just generally maintained. That's my ideal of a good WooCommerce.
I think we have one more, right?
Hi. On this way here, this morning I heard on the radio that in France some stores or web stores were under investigation, like AliExpress, Temu, Wish, and Amazon, I think, for selling sex dolls and having porn content. This is not a technical question. I think it's an ethical situation. Do you think IA will help or otherwise allow these companies to keep selling these products?
Interesting.
Or allow the IA investigators to not allow this to be sold?
I would expect, and this is completely guessing, that the AI companies would be the ones filtering this data out. Maybe they would have, you know, age settings within the AI that allow, because you wouldn't want your child to find that type of product. So I would expect it's on them. Maybe there's a flag that we add to WooCommerce to say this data is for mature audiences. But yeah, I would expect it's more the AI companies that would need to not do that.
Questions, Keith? Katie, do you have another question for James?
No.
Okay, so I'll close it. I have a question from all the plugin developers in the room. So what's the next step of more in core?
Well,
What's the next feature?
it's like I said, the goal with More and Core, and it has slowed down a little bit while we're focusing on the AI stuff, is not to pull in like fully featured products that could be separate products. It's to set the foundation that people can build on top of in a consistent way. So for things like back in stock notifications, which is something that will get added to Core, that one's a bit different. But you could expect that maybe Core will offer the ability to enable a back in stock notification, and maybe it sends one, whereas a plugin could come in and add a sequence, expand on that. And I actually think it's a good thing for developers, although it sounds scary, having More in Core. It's more about making the core reliable. So if someone, wants to switch between two different plugins that do similar things, like cost of goods, for example, which is also coming to Core and is in Core, but you have to enable it. The foundation is there for just saying this is how much a product costs, but plugins can come in and expand on that. I think that's the goal, not to add like a fully featured, I can't think of any examples, but yeah.
I was actually going to refer that I like very much that cost of goods and brands got into Core.
Yeah, brands is a good example, yeah.
Exactly. So I think, we have one more.
Hello, James. From a commercial point of view, what arguments would you give to sell your product? For example, let's say a developer is trying to get in a client, and the client has several choices, and he's very dubious of what he would use. So what arguments in the commercial view you would give to the customer?
You mean
To use WooCommerce.
to use WooCommerce specifically?
Yeah.
For me, it's all about the ecosystem. Like the ecosystem of WooCommerce is so evolved now that I would expect whatever your client is looking for, some form of solution to that exists. And if it doesn't, it's flexible enough that can be built. As well as currently, there's lots of effort going into performance, and in the future we'll probably see like conflict checking, checking for conflicts and pre-warning when issues are going to arise or maybe have arisen with the checkout. But really it's the ecosystem of just being flexible enough to solve many issues, many like things that a merchant might want with their store.
Could I add to that? I'll need that one.
You would.
So yeah, a lot of people have been talking about why we should use WooCommerce and how can we convey that to our clients and potential clients, particularly with other platforms like Shopify gaining in popularity. And when I've talked to people, they'll often say, well, WooCommerce is open source. And I thought, how are you going to use that to convince a client? Maybe they don't care. So I did, and actually James and I both separately tweeted asking the community, why do people use WooCommerce? Mm-hmm. And I collated the results. I think it was like last week or something that I published a blog post on barn2.com saying what people said about why they use it. And it was really interesting because, most of it is what James just said in summary, but it was really about the consequences of open source. So it's not the fact that it's open source, it's the fact that as a result of that, it's flexible and you can move between different platforms in the future, you own your data, those sorts of more indirect benefits. So it's not so much the philosophy, but the consequences that come from that. So I thought that was really interesting because I feel like we don't as a community really get to the heart of why people use WooCommerce enough.
Yeah, the result of my question, the top answer was flexibility and extensibility. My question specifically was, what do you love about WooCommerce?
So it's good to know what a wider group of people think about that.
Yeah.
I've got it open.
Have another one? So did we pay for extended time?
It's a quick one. Hi, thank you for the presentation, for the talk. My question is with two parts. One part for Katie and the next part to James. Katie talked earlier that your company starts to do plugins to Shopify. Okay. Which functions or which features that you recognize in Shopify that you like to have in WooCommerce? And for James, if that features is possible in the plan for the future, 1 year, 2 years, something like that, because Shopify is one of the biggest, and more and more clients go there. And for we have arguments to capture that clients, we also need to have or some developer that can develop that features, or the base of the WordPress can possibly make it happen.
Yeah.
So first, Katie. So sorry for this test of what.
So
Bad English.
That's good.
no, that's fine.
Good English.
That's a good question. So a year ago, I set up a test Shopify store for the first time, having used WooCommerce for years and never used Shopify before. And the thing that struck me that was better about Shopify was that it is designed entirely as an e-commerce system. That is the point. Whereas with a WordPress site, WooCommerce is an add-on of WordPress, basically, isn't it? And as a result, just the whole structure of the admin, for example, is not around e-commerce. The dashboard, the first page you land on in the WordPress admin isn't putting your store first. The fact that you've got pages and posts and loads of stuff before you've got WooCommerce and products, it's just not centrally putting the e-commerce stuff in the middle like Shopify does. So I would like to see WooCommerce at least maybe giving an option to take over the admin. So I know sometimes WooCommerce isn't the main part of your store. Maybe you have a membership site and you just use WooCommerce to sell your memberships, but the key thing is the member levels or something. Or similarly, events. Maybe the key thing is the events, but you sell tickets or something like that. So you shouldn't always have WooCommerce take over everything in an arrogant way. But I'd like it to be able to, because for most WooCommerce stores, it's the most important thing on the site. And I think it should have that confidence, just like Shopify puts e-commerce at the center.
Well, we were actually exploring exactly that. So the ability to enable like a commerce mode that brings the commerce experience front and center, whereas currently it's the blog experience is the front and center thing. So yeah, it's something that we would definitely consider. I personally think we should do it for sure. It's it can be a confusing experience as a non-technical person or someone that doesn't understand WordPress in general. Like when you log in and land somewhere, you don't really know how to navigate it. So I think there's tons there that we could do to make it more of an e-commerce experience. And like you say, it should be optional. It should be a feature you enable.
And what was your question?
No,
That was my question.
That covered it.
What of your
Okay.
suggestion?
If
it will be possible.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're done. That was very cool. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Thank you, Katie, for doing this for us also.